Welcome to the Real Business Lifetime Lessons podcast, where Carolina business leaders get real about growth, grit, and leadership. I'm Aubrey Fitzloff, and this is Founders and Frontlines, conversations with entrepreneurs on the front lines of Carolina business, building and leading with resilience. Today, we're joined by Jeff Perlstein, co-founder and chief creative officer of RSRV Collective, a nationally recognized non-alcoholic craft cocktail brand based in Asheville, North Carolina. With 25 years of experience in creative strategy and branding, Jeff made the leap from global ad agencies to entrepreneurship in pursuit of something more meaningful. In this episode, we dig into how Jeff's people first approach, bold creative vision, and commitment to authenticity are reshaping what it means to grow a business in a crowded, fast moving market. Jeff, welcome to the podcast.
Appreciate it, Aubrey. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Jeff, you've had an impressive 25-year creative career from big name agencies to launching your own brands. What was the turning point that made you step into entrepreneurship?
Honestly, it was a slow moving wheel, really, where when the opportunity came to go from working for, the big ad agencies, the big companies, and to go from that to working in an e-commerce, small business startup environment, I took it and realized instantly, like, oh man, I love this. I love the ability to get my hands in there and really affect the business where it needs to be affected. Like a lot of times I found working for the bigger companies and the agencies, it's like, yeah, this is a problem, but it's actually not a marketing problem. It's a product problem or a brand problem, something completely different than what we needed in order to fix it, something that I didn't have my hands in. And then going to a smaller situation, I see where the problem is. Let's fix it here, whether that's product or something else. And then moving off of that, right before everything happened with COVID, I had the opportunity, a buddy of mine who was working in that e-commerce startup to, hey, like, let's come up with our own thing. And that was the moment where it was like, yeah. Like now's the time. I want to put all of my skills to bear. I want to work on something from the ground up. I want to build it the right way and like really make something great happen. That was the goal, at least.
Tell us more about what you learned from collaborating with your friend when you guys decided to take that leap to move toward creating your own brand.
Sure. So my friend, his name is Aaron. He's a high school buddy of mine. We've been in touch ever since, which I feel fortunate about. What's been challenging, right? I think the biggest learning point for me once we got started was how much of a marriage situation starting a business is. And I mean, it's kind of cliche, right, to say it that way. But what I mean by that is the real brutal honesty of getting in bed with someone to be a business partner. Just like in a relationship, you're going to see all the great stuff about them right off the bat, right? Oh, they're really calm and they're generous, or they're whatever the things are. They're like a shark and they can really get to this and that. But you're also absolutely getting in the bed with the yin and the yang of it, the opposite side of it. And so really seeing that it's like, okay, I know who my buddy is, but like, oh, I really know who my buddy is because I see that other side of it, the dark side of it. And then working through that, just like in a marriage or a relationship, it's you can't avoid the yin and the yang. Like you're gonna get it, and it's just a matter of like, are you going to deal with this, or are you going to push it away and feel resentment or whatever negative feelings you're going to feel? So to me, right off the bat, it was like, okay, understanding who this person is, like who they really are on both sides of it, light and dark, and then coming to grips with like, how am I going to navigate that? And will I be able to accept it? Like, obviously you can accept the easy sides, but it's always the hardest part of love is accepting the dark side. And that exists in business.
I agree with you. Without sharing too much of my company's business, two partners going separate ways is essentially what gave me the opportunity to buy my business eventually. Watching that partnership burn down was uglier than some divorces I have seen. And hopefully, you and your partner have done really well with figuring out how to evolve as you grow your business, because if you don't, then you get stuck essentially.
I really do feel like that. I mean, forget about business in life. That's always the challenge. Can you stick with it? Can you roll with this? Can you fit in with this darkness and difficulty? Or do you push it away? And sometimes it's so dark that you have to. It's a very gray line. But for us, I find it maybe one of the most fulfilling things of the whole thing is that human, personal, like acceptance of somebody else for better, for worse, all the pieces of it, not in the cliche way, but in the real gritty, like, ooh, I see it and I'm going to be okay with that or work with it in whatever way I need to. I think it's like, it's really the most important work you can do, I would say.
Growing a small business can definitely grow and stretch you. When we chatted before, you said that you didn't want RSRV to be just about profits. How do you practically lead a business rooted in something bigger like self actualization?
That is a huge question. I'll start here and I'll work my way around and you let me know if I'm missing something. The reason I would even get started with this project, knowing at how much work it is, how much time it would take to make it happen, was I'm not even willing to get going until we create not only a great product in a great category with a lot of potential, but that it also can link in a way that's borrowed interesty, kind of fake slamming it together into something that's way bigger and way more interesting and ethical and powerful. And we spoke about this at one point before about how, in my estimation, the most powerful brands are going to either be steeped in innovation. So they're going to be making robots and things like this. They don't need a really interesting side brand because the innovation in of itself is powerful, or they're picking a commodity, but they link it with a way bigger idea. And the example that I had spoken with you about before was about Nike. To me, they're the number one example. Everybody knows them. They're making shoes. And it's like, all right, there's a little bit of difference, but in general, shoes are commodity. They all work generally the same way and with slight differences in aesthetics and whatnot. But by linking a commodity with a way bigger idea, so Nike, just do it, just like, go out there and make it happen, and really giving you the inspiration to be the person that you can be as an athlete, it becomes a way more interesting brand. And they don't even need to talk about the specs of their shoes or anything like that, or their sales. They can just literally talk about that inspiration, and that's way more powerful. It's way more emotional, and that's where you want it to be. So for us, I didn't even want to get started until coming to the realization that we saw non-alcoholics were happening. We tried a lot of them. We didn't think they were great. But then linking non-alcoholic beverages with being authentic to ourselves, like the courage to be authentic with ourselves, whether that be how we express ourselves or how we just are in our everyday life. And as soon as we saw that that was a possibility, where is the brand that gets behind people saying, hey, if you're going to post on Instagram, maybe don't post about how amazing your vacation was all the time, but maybe how difficult your relationship was today, or how you're not feeling awesome today, or whatever the thing is that's real. Or maybe you're an accountant, but you've always wanted to open a restaurant, but you're afraid of the failure of it. Where's the brand that says, dude, go fail? Go fail. We're behind you, because it's not easy. And anybody trying to do anything, write a book, record a podcast, is going to fail. We can be the brand that says, go, if you feel truly that you need to do it authentically, go do it, and we'll be behind you. Seeing that big idea could link, ladder down into, hey, you're going out with your buddies, everybody's drinking, you don't want to. Now you have a really great option to drink if you don't want to. But if you do, that's fine. We're not a hardcore, hardline, don't drink company. So it's just about being real and truthful. So taking that idea of, okay, this is perfect because it works in the big and doing really interesting, cool things in a big way. And to what you had asked about in the future, I would love our company. We have all these programs that we're on the precipice of starting, but because we're so new and just getting off the ground, we're not quite there yet with everything. But we want to have a grant program where a portion of our proceeds go towards anybody that writes in saying, I do want to start my restaurant, or I do want to write that book. And then our collective, our people that are our customers, are in our sphere, can say, yeah, these are the 10 things this year that we want to fund. We want to give this guy $10,000 to start his restaurant, so that in 20 years as a company, we can look back and not only say, hey, like, we made a great product. We know it's the best, hands down. That's easy. But also, here's our sales and the money that we've been bringing in. That's also great. But that we take it up that next level of, and we've also helped, 20,000 people start their project, get it off the ground, and make something happen that they otherwise wouldn't have, which to me is like, that is the thing that you'd be proud of.
Your brand message, be courageously you, feels personal. How has the principle shaped the company culture behind the scenes?
The best way to say that is, it's shaped our culture as it's established our North Star. Again, we're very, very small at the moment, and making it happen. So it's not like there's hundreds of people, working in an office somewhere. Eventually, that is my goal, is really creating that culture of everybody understanding what the moonshot is. A lot of times, going back to our original conversation about, where I came from, and agency world and corporate world, and especially right now with like so many businesses, all their focus is quarterly profits. Like, that's the goal. What's the quarterly profit? And okay, I get it. Like, that's how the world works right now. And I'm not trying to poo-poo that. That's just the way things are. But I do believe that the companies that are the most inspiring are the ones that are like, yeah, we want to make money. We want to do this thing. We want to make a great product. We want to constantly be getting better. Sure, that's table stakes. What we really want, though, is this vision of this future big moonshot idea. And that's what keeps this thing spinning and going quarter to quarter in a way more emotional way, not just like a P&L sheet way. So in the back of my head is we grind it out day after day with all the things of a small business, right? It's like troubleshooting problems. In the back of my head, the way that it manifests for me and for I know for my partners is like, okay, yeah, this is tough right now. But I'm thinking about that Sundance Film Festival where we elevate people that are making movies off their iPhone that nobody's heard of before in this cool film festival where they're serving our cocktails and we really give these people an audience. Or even the 20,000, 100,000 people that we inspired to do something. All of those things, it is the fuel for my inspiration to get me through the tough times. Because I do believe the tough times are inevitable. The failures are inevitable. The tough times are inevitable. If you don't have something that's driving you to get you over those tough times, I would imagine it'd be very, very tough to get through it because it's having that inspiration really pulls me through.
You're building in an emerging market. Non-alcoholic cocktails is a relatively new product. What's been one of the hardest parts about educating your audience on a product that they may not even know they want yet?
It's a great question. So this was one of the bigger learnings that we had going down this journey. When we got started, the mentality was essentially field of dreams. If we build it, they will come mindset. And we know we created something great. We went flavor first, but after creating it and us thinking it's great, as well as winning awards, being served at the James Beard House in New York City, all of this validation that, yeah, you made something awesome. What we also realize simultaneously is because it's an emerging product, it's an emerging market, the most difficult thing to get people to understand is, hey, if you're throwing a party, if you're going to a dinner party somewhere, or you want to buy a gift for someone who doesn't drink, which in and of itself, not drinking is just becoming a thing within the last 5 years, that not drinking is totally fine. There's all these other options or ways you can handle yourself. And then B, either serving or getting people who don't want to drink just water, juice, or soda is just not acceptable anymore. Those people deserve to have that same cocktail experience that's all the great words, luxurious and sophisticated and layered and adult in the way that water and soda never could be or would be without the alcohol in it. It's kind of a no-brainer that that should exist as a niche. But the problem is the mentality of, do I want to spend the money to get a high quality product like that when it's not that much less than getting some alcohol? In our brains, I'm not going to spend a lot of money unless there's booze in it, essentially. And the change in mentality is, yeah, I'm going to get the booze. Of course, people are going to want to drink, but I'm also going to spend the money to get a high quality drink for the people that don't want to drink. So that education has really been a challenge for us in terms of how we approach it. What what portion of that is our responsibility versus a lot of other places where that's being done, as well as how much we can do based on exactly where we are with our starting as a bootstrap and getting one seed round. So there's a lot of facets to it, but that's really been the biggest challenge, is getting people to understand that water, juice, soda doesn't cut it anymore, and it's slowly happening.
Well, you go to a baby shower and every baby shower has its own fun spin on a mocktail. And we put that into that type of event where, of course, the alcohol is going to be limited if it's there at all. Like, why can't that be our day to day dinner parties and barbecues and other family gatherings? So,
Totally.
yeah, it is an overlooked niche that maybe we need to give a little more attention to.
I just want to, yeah, I think it's really it's like a block of understanding. Like as people, right? We create these walls of mentality. I don't spend a lot of money if there's not booze in it. And that just becomes a rigid thing until we get over the hump of like, we just made that up. That's just a fake idea that's locked in our head, to your point. Yeah, you're going to a baby shower. Why wouldn't you bring something that tastes great and is adult? And I'll bring this up just because you're reminding me. I won't go too deep into it, but the idea of like when we hit this wall of like, oh, this is a real problem of even tasting it for customers isn't necessarily enough. It's a real understanding of spending money on something that doesn't have alcohol is not against the rules. It's not something you should avoid necessarily. And to me, it always harkened back to, and this is going to age me as an old dude, but back to when the computers started coming out in the 80s. And we had talked about this, the Macintosh, and everyone was printing these banners on their dot matrix printers. And you're playing with it at school. And I would go home to my folks and be like, dude, we got to get this computer. Everyone's got it. They're so fun. You could do all this cool stuff. And I will never forget my folks being like, dude, this thing costs thousands of dollars. What are we going to do on this thing? We're going to make banners on it? I don't understand. And it was real rigid, like not understanding that computers can really have value, but they just couldn't see it. So then eventually time changes, the culture changes, and now who would not have multiple computers? Everyone's got tons of them in our pocket everywhere.
I have two sitting on my desk.
Right. Right. You can't avoid it. So that was a wall that got smashed through, but it took culture to shift. And I believe there's a parallel there, really, that it's the same kind of thing that slowly the walls are being smashed through, but it's a big barrier.
Yeah, I guess personally, I like to entertain. And one of the things I pride myself on is that we cook from scratch. Like, so I'm going to buy the highest quality ingredients that I can afford to when I am providing for my family and my friends. So, and I have friends that don't drink for health reasons or personal choice or whatever. Why wouldn't I want them to have options that are above and beyond the wine or the beer or whatever? Let's shift gears just a little bit. You've been personally DMing some followers on Instagram as the co founder to the consumer. What impact has that level of personal connection had on your growth and customer loyalty?
Yes, this has been great, but I want to couch it with the idea that in the long story of getting to this moment where that became a possibility or kind of our strategy, that never would have been the strategy on day one. And I wouldn't have seen it. And it slowly, as you know, going through the pivot to pivot to pivot, it emerged as this is the obvious next step to take. The only reason I want to say that is because it's easy to take credit for something. That was my idea. And it is on some level. But there's also a piece of it is it's a matter of getting started and willing to take the hits and getting the failures to get to pivot to the next channel. It's like, oh, okay, this is where I go next. I keep finding that that's how it works, where it's like you hit this wall and then all of a sudden there's like okay, now we take this avenue. This is very clear. But if we had just been blue sky talking about it, I'm not sure I would have started there to do it. In terms of what impact it's had, by reaching out individually, DMing personally to each person, each one of our followers on a one-to-one basis, it's been incredible in the sense that there's so much depersonalization in marketing now. There's so much like, buy this segment, I buy this market, and I'm just going to shower them with this one video I made. It's not personal at all. And by doing that, I love our brand. I'm happy to talk about it. We could geek out about this for hours. We haven't even scratched the surface. And to be able to like go as the owner and say, Aubrey are valuable. You are worth my time, even though it's one person and the individual sale off one person in the very beginning might not be a lot of money. I'd rather start that conversation up and be, look, you can know me. I'm just a dude. Yeah, I like own this company, but I'm just a guy. And let's have that relationship so that you feel part of it too. That you like, oh, I know the owner of this. These guys are awesome, And by doing that, what it's really done is sparked awareness from people. Like some people mindlessly follow, and most people mindlessly follow stuff on Instagram. A heart, in my opinion, doesn't mean very much. A follow doesn't even mean that very much because it can be like a really quick thing. You click on the bathroom and then like you don't even remember it 5 seconds later what you did. By reaching out personally, okay, now it's a dude to you, it's person to person, and people are like, oh my God, thanks for reaching out. I forgot all about you guys. Like that's great. Like I'm super interested. So it's not only sparked conversion, it's even gotten people that are like, oh my God, I love what you guys are doing. I didn't really take a look the first time. How can I get involved and be part of it? It's that old adage, right? It's when everybody's screaming, you got to whisper. When everybody's whispering, you got to scream, that kind of thing. And I think in this moment right now, there's so much non-personal communication that by being personal, it really stands out. It's not the obvious and it's not the easy, time-effective way to do things, but it's very rare now. So it really, really stands out and has been great for us.
With your background, what do you think most brands get wrong when it comes to building real connection in a digital space?
I'm hesitant to answer the question because I don't want to cast shade like I'm some genius over anybody else doing anything in the digital space necessarily. And I think there's something also to be said about the humbleness of understanding that every business needs to come to terms with who they are and what's right for them. So casting that judgment is very hesitant to do it. I'll asterisk with that.
Bring the question then.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
would you encourage some brands? or more brands to do in the digital space? What do you wish you saw more of?
So I'll answer the question. And even that reframing, I still want to couch it in this, I'm no genius. I'm just a dude. I have experience. But the older I get, the more I recognize that judgment on anything other, you got to really be careful with that, because it's your experience is a lot different than everybody else's, and what's right for you is different from everybody else. So, but that being said, if I'm going to talk generally about it, what I would love to see more is, in a digital space, brands that are honest with who they are and personally stand for something more than making a buck. There's a million brands out there that just have an identity. They just have a logo and then they sell things. And that's great. They can make a bunch of money doing it. It's not a very inspiring brand, but it can be a very profitable brand, right? So Amazon is a perfect example for that. Amazon doesn't stand for anything but their service and what they do. And that's great. They can make a bunch of money. Me personally, I love the brands where they stand for something even more than their thing. They're doing their thing, but they have a way bigger idea. Even Chipotle, I was just looking at the other day, and how they're all about locally farmed, sourcing their food and things like this. It doesn't have to be heady or really brainy, but at least you're tying your brand in with an idea or something that you stand for. And to me, it's the same as any human being, right? If I'm meeting someone at a party or something, or a family member, yeah, I know who you are and what you are right now, but what do you stand for? What are you doing? What are you about? And to me, a brand having that is so important to really pulling me in personally. And I do think pulling customers in. And then secondarily is having that very personal connection, and that whether you have just the identity or the big brand platform, talking to people as if they're individual people and not targets or segments or this dehumanized idea. And that can be as simple as how you're speaking to people in an email. Are you talking to them like robots that you want them to purchase something, or a human being that has a problem or whatever you're trying to solve? Really being real with people.
We actually talk about that a lot on our team because there's not a whole lot that's sexy about selling insurance. Some people just look at it as a necessary evil or whatnot, but does help us solve a problem. But you have to get to know your client or potential client well enough to be able to even help steer them toward a product. And I am very firm with my team about it is not just about a sale. If they need to keep what they've got, if they need to go in a completely different direction, that means they don't do business with our agency, you better be recommending that, because at the end of the day, you take care of people and the money takes care of itself. Yes, we have to make sales. Of course, we have to eat. But if you are taking good care of people, then the relationships will bring the right people to us. And that's tough when you're brand new in a business. I have an agent who has literally been licensed for 3 months, and she's not at all just chasing numbers. She wouldn't be with our agency if it was. But of course, we need to see some sales come in for her because she needs to make a little money. But
Totally.
yeah, relationships, in my opinion, no matter what you do for business, are so important.
And to piggyback on that for a second, it makes me think about like specifically insurance. When I worked for State Farm for a while back in the day, and even how insurance is told. So a perfect example is podcasts are great. We're telling stories right now. Now, my story isn't really insurance based, but it's a person talking about something real. So if I'm advertising insurance, like think about all the people that went through problems and then the insurance really helped them. Like that's a really interesting story to tell. Or like individual people, what they're really protecting from their house and like what they took to get that house. All of these individual things. I think that's why podcasts are becoming so big. We want to hear these individual stories because they're so powerful and real in light of all the fakeness happening. It's like a wellspring of truth and realness that brands really should take advantage of.
You've mentioned failure a couple of times, and when we talked the first time, you were very honest about failure being part of the game. Can you talk about a specific moment when you failed forward and what changed because of it?
I could talk for the next 2 hours about. It's another one of the big learnings of starting a business that I feel fortunate about is like to start. If there's any truth to starting a business, is getting comfortable with failure. And there's so much ego that's like, don't fail, take it personally. You are failing. The truth of the matter is that you're not going to get into something and not have massive failures and realize that that's the process to get good. And the reason that most people don't ever get good is because they're not comfortable with that failure. And instead of seeing that as, okay, that's part of the process. How do I get better? They see it as a roadblock, as a big stop sign, and then they're done because they can't push through it. I'm not saying it's easy for me either. It's really, really tough, even after doing it so many times. So to your question, talk about a time that we failed and kind of pushing forward. I mean, the first one that springs to mind for me was when we first got started. Basically, when we got started, we were psyched. We were psyched about the brand. We were psyched about the platform that we created. We actually created this whole program of becoming a founding member before we launched and got ourselves thousands of names of people that were like, we love the idea and we definitely want to try a free sample when you guys launch. And we launched and got samples out to all these people and this whole marketing automation situation happening. It was just the whole system was in play. And in my head, it was a system that I had worked before and had worked for other companies. I'm like, this is foolproof. We're ready to rock. We have thousands of people interested. They're going to try a sample. We're going to retarget them over and over with communication. They can buy online e-commerce. This whole thing is ready to roll. We're going to crank. And the truth of the matter was all the people tried it. We got a bunch of great feedback. We love it. We love it. We love it. And then 0 sales, almost next to 0. And a couple of weeks after it was like, oh, maybe it's just going to take some time. And then it was like, dude, that's not the issue. And that was the beginning of, okay, I didn't even see the problem. I was looking at all the pieces of the puzzle that have worked before in other industries, but I didn't even perceive the problem of this could be that the whole category is not understood in a way. Everything we talked about before about I'm not going to spend the money on something doesn't have alcohol in it. It's not worth it. Even if I've tried it and it tastes great, even if I post about how awesome it is, I'm still kind of like, yeah, but am I going to do it now? Probably not. And so it was crushing for me because I felt like, man, we put so much work and energy to get that first phase in place. And then it just completely flopped. And it took a lot of fortitude to pick ourselves up and be like, okay, there's another way to do this. And we took a whole other avenue and went wholesale instead of direct to customers to like really build things up. And then that started to take off and get us, now we're in over 200 locations. We got shown at Sprouts and all 400 of their locations in their innovation program. And then from there, it just started to really take off, being awarded Best of 2023 Non-Alc from BevNet, and then all the other international wine and spirit competition and non-alcoholic competition, and then being served at the James Beard House. That all was pushing us up from a wholesale perspective and was that next avenue. Now we've got the validation. So, and hopefully culture, not only hopefully, is shifting to get to a place where it's going to catch up to where the wholesale validation is and meet us in the middle before we run out of runway, basically. That was one example of a major pivot and an example of I didn't even see the problem that we were looking at. And I would never have seen it until we really got into the weeds of it. And then the ability to pick yourself up after a crushing loss to be like, okay, we can do this over here then. Let's do that. And then it just keep going, hoping that you eventually hit pay dirt.
It's really hard to know what's going to work until you get out there and try it. You can you can say I've seen this work for other people, but that doesn't mean it's the right fit for you. In business, if you're not trying new things, know, it's really hard to grow the way you want to without trying new things.
It's so true. Well, and I'll pull this into it too because I love pulling pieces from all over that have similarity, even though they're completely different discipline or world. I'm a big fan of Rick Rubin. Okay, like famous music producer. He's produced some of the biggest albums of our time, but also kind of a guru, a really, really smart dude. And he espouses this idea tons of people have, but talking about creation of art is your goal needs to be to make something that you love and you need to love making it. And if you do that, that's the best you can do. And the world is either going to embrace it or the world may not embrace it. That's not in your control. Even if you try to create the thing that you think everybody's going to embrace, it's always a critical piece of it. Of what is your North Star? Where is your head at? What's your success, your KPI, all these things. And in my estimation, if your brain is in the zone of, I want to make the best possible thing that I personally think is amazing, and I'm going to work my hardest to make it great, and I'm going to love the challenges, whatever that is to get there, even the setbacks and everything, that's already the win. And then if it gets accepted and it makes money and it does all these great things, then fantastic. But I think that if you keep your brain on the zone of, are we successful? Like, I'm only going to be happy when we're winning. I think that's a major pitfall because a lot of the times you're not going to be happy. And when you hit those points of failure, where it looks like there's no way forward. Again, I don't know how you could get over that hump without just being like, all right, this isn't about that. This is about me solving puzzles. I love what we're making and I think it's freaking awesome. And I don't care if nobody sees it yet. I see it. That is the key to have any real chance of big success. I think that that's true. At least for me, that feels very true.
In the startup grind, how do you personally recharge or stay grounded when momentum stalls or the burnout creeps in?
It's tough. I think for me, it's like thinking about the moonshot ideas, thinking about what we built so far or the things that we've done that I can't even believe happened. Showing at expos next to Katy Perry's brand and winning an award next to them and showing them up when we're a nobody brand, or even feeling comfortable doing that or talking about it with you. I love that I can talk to you about this brand for hours. There's so many pieces to it to talk about, but I can talk to you about it very real and without practicing because I lived it. Like I built it from the ground, from very, very scratch. I love having the core of that realness to be able to say, Aubrey, any question you got for me, let's roll. I might not have the answer, but like I can talk about almost anything here. And so I think that that element of it, that it's very real to me and it's not fakely created, but very like from the heart created, true. That wasn't Will's side, but you know what I mean? Would never give it up because I still think it's amazing. I think it's an amazing brand and a great brand platform, a great idea. Whether we eventually become the next Coke and Pepsi of NA brands is who knows, like could happen, maybe not. But I'm going to do everything in my power to keep it going because I believe in it from the heart so deeply.
And our listeners might think this is cheesy, but this is what my business coach had me do about 10 years ago. And it definitely has helped through the years. He told me to create a hype video. He's like, record a hype video of all the stuff you have accomplished in the last 6 months to a year, because there's going to be days where you're going to feel kind of lost or it doesn't feel like it's going anywhere. It doesn't feel like it means anything. And
Right.
you need to be able to find that affirmation within yourself. And thinking about it, it's been 10 years since I did that. It's probably time for me to re-record that hype video.
Yeah, I mean, it really is hard, and I think that that's helpful with having partners too. It's like it's making me remember a bunch of times where I'll be talking with one of the other owners and stuff, and we're focusing on the day to day. You're seeing all these problems, and this isn't working. And like you said, to go back and just be like, dude, this happened, this thing and that would have been the thing when you first started. That would have been like, I cannot believe we accomplished this. Like I'll give you an example that really hit me hard was when we first got started as just an idea. I said to my wife, listen, if there's ever a day where we walk into a restaurant and our drinks are on the menu, I'm going to lose my shit. I'm going to lose it, right? It's going to be crazy. And that was to me was like, the moment you're on a menu at a restaurant. And then that moment happens. We went to a restaurant. It happened to be on the menu and it was good. But I was okay. Yeah, like this is just one. There's a bunch of, I want it to be more places and this and that. And she was like, are you kidding me? This was the thing. That was the thing that you were so pumped about. You have to see it. It takes work to remember the vision, to remember that because once you get there, you're not that same person anymore. And if you can't celebrate those moments, even once you make millions, it'll be the same thing. Why aren't we making billions? You'll never get there. It'll always be tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow.
Your example there is a great segue for you to let our listeners know where they can find your product and how they can connect with your brand, because we are getting close to time. So we should get that in there.
Sure. In terms of where to get our product, we are available online on our site. The best way to see us there is rsrvonline.com, which you can pronounce that way, or we also pronounce it Reserve Collective. But either way, rsrvonline.com. And that'll lead you to where you can get it online. You can also get it on Amazon. We're also available in 200 plus locations around the country. There's a location finder on rsrvonline.com that can show you where we are on the map. And for right now, that's where things are at. And hopefully very soon, we'll be exploding with some bigger opportunities as well and be in even more places around the country.
Jeff, before we part ways for the day, one last question. What final words of advice would you give to somebody who is thinking about going out and creating their own startup?
There's just a few things. The first is thinking through, why are you doing it? What is your goal? Are you trying to make money? Do you have a vision for something? What is your North Star for this thing? And then if you really believe in it, is understanding and accepting that you are going to fail your ass off over and over again. And everything we talked about before, just being comfortable with the fact that that's a truth. But if that first thing has enough energy and momentum behind it, inertia into it, you'll push through those failures and you will make it happen. And if all those things are true, you have to do it. And that's the last piece of it. The best thing that you can do is, our brand believes this, I personally believe it. The best thing you can do in this world is inspire someone else to do what they are meant to do here and to have the courage to do it. And so if you're thinking about starting a company and you feel like, I got to do this, I know I do, and I'm willing to fail that hard because I really believe in it, but there's still the niggling doubt of like, should I, shouldn't I? Do it. Because even if you completely fail, even if we completely fail, all the people you meet along the way and all the challenges you have will make you a better human being. No question. Smarter, savvier, everything. But then even more importantly, and I could not believe this more, is that by trying and talking with other people who are thinking about trying, you'll give them the courage to try the thing that they're meant to do. So even if your thing isn't the thing, that other dude that's going to create that James Beard award-winning restaurant might not even get started unless they see that you had the courage to get started and do it yourself. So there's so many benefits to it. But I would say those are the three pieces that would be real important.
Thanks for tuning in to Founders and Frontlines, part of the Real Business Lifetime Lessons podcast, hosted by Lifetime Insurance Agency. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories of growth, grit, and leadership from entrepreneurs across the Carolinas. And if you're a Carolina resident needing help with health, life, or Medicare insurance, our team at Lifetime Insurance is here for you.